Hi everybody, welcome to the channel. If this is your first time here, my name's Molly, and you can probably see if you've looked at my channel that most of what I do is reaction videos or similar type of content related to TV shows that I love. But I also am a huge fan of fighting games, and so you'll see a bunch of Mortal Kombat 11 related content on this channel as well. And if you don't know me, I also do stream on Twitch, mostly Mortal Kombat 11 again. So I'm a fan of fighting games in general, but for the most part over this past, year and a half, I'd say, MK11 is all I've been focused on. I've been an MK11 scrub, so to speak. But when I was growing up, I also was really into and a big fan of the Street Fighter franchise. And I just never really got around to finding the time to incorporate Street Fighter V into my game playing schedule, let alone my content creating schedule. Until very recently, I decided I was finally going to sit down and practice and learn Street Fighter V. I bought it months and months and months ago when the Championship Edition was first announced and it went on sale, and I just never really got around to playing it. But now I finally am. I'm finally getting into it. And what happened when I first opened the game up, I sat down and I looked at all the character choices, and I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed, I'm not gonna lie, especially since a lot of the characters were pretty new to me, either brand new altogether because I didn't play the most recent Street Fighter 4, or they were similar but it had been so long since I had actually played that I wasn't sure if they were the same or what changes had happened or what was different. So I think, like a lot of people out there, my first thought was, well, I'll go on YouTube and try to figure out if I can get some background information on some of the characters, just kind of a sense of who I'm dealing with, what maybe I am getting into. So what I wanted, what I was looking for was very basic stuff. Name of the character and, like, what is their playstyle? What are some of their special moves actually look like in action and what do they do? How difficult or complex was it to learn and then play the individual characters? Because especially as a newcomer to the game, how hard is the learning curve gonna be? And then of course, what are they like in terms of their personalities and their aesthetics? I know some people don't care about that at all, but for me, that is one of the things that really draws me in with a character. Do I like looking at them? Do I have fun playing with them because of what they look and sound like? It's very important to me in choosing a character in any game that I want to play. So I was searching for just some sort of video on YouTube that would lay out those basic things, so then I could think, who do I maybe want to jump into first? And I didn't find anything like that. I found hundreds and hundreds of guides to the individual characters. There's a lot of amazing content out there on YouTube that I have discovered over the past couple of months in searching. For beginners to advanced players, all sorts of tips, which makes sense. This is a game that's been out for, at least 5 years. It's been out a long time. A lot of people have put a lot of work and effort into this, but I didn't really find exactly what I was looking for, which was basic ground level stuff for more than one character. So you might have a beginner's guide to Chun-Li, but then nothing else about others. You know what I mean? So what I ended up doing, not a surprise, is I went into the lab during one of my Twitch streams and just labbed all the characters I thought might be interesting to me based on just looks and tried to get a sense of what they could do. And then I also read written guides online. And that was very helpful to me, of course. But then I thought to myself, you know what? I have a YouTube channel. I could make the type of video that I was looking for. And then if somebody else out there is looking for something similar, then they will have something they can find to watch on YouTube. So that's what I'm gonna try to do today. Basically just put together a very simple beginner's guide to the characters in Street Fighter V that I have looked at and am interested in, so that people can compare them, especially since it's been free on PS Plus this month, so I know there's a lot of people that got the game and are just gonna be starting, including a bunch of friends of mine, if you're out there. Alright, so just a couple of caveats before we get into this, some things that I think are very important for me to say. First, this guide, as you can see in the title, is only about the girls in Street Fighter V. I'm sorry. I know that leaves out a ton of characters and that's going to be disappointing to a lot of people, But anybody that knows me from my Mortal Kombat stuff, either on Twitch or here, you know I only play the girls. Sorry if that's bothersome to some people, but I only have fun playing the girls. I only have fun customizing girls. They're the only ones I'm really that interested in. And since this is just kind of a labor of love exercise for my own entertainment and people out there maybe like me, I'm only gonna focus on the girls in this. So still though, there's 13 female characters in Street Fighter V, so that's still a lot of content, still a lot you can get from looking at this. And there's some similarities in some of the playstyles between the female characters and some of the guys, so if I'm talking about Sakura, that should give you some tips on Ryu and Ken as well, at least by default, hopefully. So also, what is this video not? This video is not a detailed guide to any of these characters, not by any means, way, shape, or form. This isn't going to tell you about combos, not even B&Bs, or optimal gameplay, nothing like that at all. This isn't a showcase. It's only meant to describe and quickly show off some of the very, very basics, like I mentioned, about each character. What's their playstyle? Show you some of their normals and special moves in action. What's their difficulty, from my judgment. And some appearance stuff. What's their appearance, aesthetics, you know, do they have any cool looking moves that might appeal to particular people? So literally the only purpose is for people trying to say, who do I maybe want to try to learn based on these simple dynamics for people starting off. So please don't watch this and be like, wow, she's not doing any combos that are optimal or anything, and she's not giving me any sort of details about that. That's not what you're gonna get here. I am also a newcomer myself, please remember. So I'm just here to lay down the basics for people who are just getting started. With that in mind, this also is not going to talk about things like tiers. So you're not going to get any information in this about like which characters are the strongest overall. Like, who would you want to play if you were going into a tournament and hoping to win with them? Again, this is for beginners. And my feeling in fighting games is that if you're a beginner or someone who plays casually in any way, shape, or form, you shouldn't be that concerned with tier lists anyway. You should just be focused on who appeals to you. Who do you think fits your style? Who would be fun for you? So that's what this is about. This is not about strength or weaknesses. So I'm not even gonna mention that. So look elsewhere for that. There's plenty of tier lists online as well, which I have found. And finally, while I am going to specifically talk about whether a character is maybe, in my opinion, easy or difficult to learn, especially at first for a newcomer, don't let that deter you from playing whoever you want. So if you are looking at this and you see me say a character is probably advanced based on what I've gathered and what I've read online from others who've done way more research into this than me, but you love the way they look and you think they would be fun to play, and just are the character that really gets to you, don't let this stop you from trying them anyway, because, you know, I want to help you out if you're looking for an easier character. This will tell you maybe who's easier to learn at first, but the character that's right for you is always going to be the one that appeals to you the most. So please also don't let this deter you from playing or learning the characters that you think you will love. So all right, that's enough for this introduction, guys. Again, just wanted to give a little explanation and background so that you know what the purpose of this video is and what it's not, so there isn't any confusion going into it. All right, so let's check out the girls of Street Fighter V. Here we go.
Want to see my kung fu? I'll show you.
The first lady of Street Fighter with the strongest legs in the world, Chun-Li is a neutral-based, all-around character who can do a little bit of everything. With long-ranging normals and pokes, a number of great anti-airing options, a fireball, and good speed, she's a major threat from the mid-range. All of her classic moves are present, including her lightning legs and the spinning bird kick. But keep in mind, Chun-Li is a charge character, meaning you have to hold down buttons before you're able to execute some of her special moves. This can make her more difficult, especially for new players to master. She also has the most costumes in the game, and they're pretty much all top tier, so have fun customizing our girl. I would say she classifies as an intermediate level character. The charge moves make her a little bit more difficult to master, And the fact that she has to maneuver in neutral can also be somewhat tricky to get used to, but she's extremely strong and fun to play. And of course, she's the original. Cammy is an aggressive, pressure-based character who likes to get up in your face. She has a number of special moves that can put her in advantageous positions, so she is a range-making machine. Cammy is also extremely fast, check out her dashes, and has great anti-airs. Please do not jump on Cammy. Her signature Cannon Spike, Cannon Strike, and Spiral Arrow give her options from all angles and distances, and the Hooligan combination allows her to mix up opponents with such options as an airstrike, a low, or even a grab. Cammy's attack plan is very straightforward to learn, but she does lack any sort of projectile, and she is also very punishable. So, she's probably good for a newcomer, but you still do have to be smart and play carefully. Oh, and also, she has the most famous ass in fighting games. You know you recognize that ass. Who needs pants anyway, right? So yes, I would recommend Cammy as a good character for newcomers, but again, you do have to think and play carefully with her.
I'll show you the divide in our class.
Have you ever wanted to play a fighting game as an arrogant rich girl, but one who can actually hold her own in a fight? Then look no further than Karin Kanzuki. An aggressive character with solid footsies and mix-ups, a dash that can be extended, and options to negate projectiles, Karin is great for players who want fun combo options and also want to get up in their opponent's faces. Her V-Trigger 1 gives her access to Gorin Ken, a new special move that has 7 potential follow-ups and also gives a damage boost. While Karin has good buttons that are simple to memorize, executing her game plan without becoming too predictable can be tough for newer players. It's one thing to keep in mind if you see a short move list that seems fairly simple to learn. Your opponents are probably going to know everything that you potentially can do, so you have to play smart and keep it mixed up. Before I forget, she's also got the most distinctive laugh in fighting games, so if you haven't heard it yet, you'll know what I'm talking about as soon as you do. I'd say Karin is an intermediate character because, again, she does have to mix things up a little.
I'll finish this in no time.
Ibuki is a complicated character to define. She has a little bit of everything at her disposal, from projectiles, to setups, to up-close mix-up options that can provide extensive long combos. She's also extremely fast, and with a command dash, she can be a threat from most of the screen. That being said, her combos are somewhat execution heavy, and her fireballs, or her kunai, require some extra thought and planning if you want to use them properly. You can see on the bottom of the screen, she has a specific number of slots for her kunai. Each time you use one, it disappears from that slot. And once you use them all, they're just gone until you refill them, which requires the execution of an additional special move that, of course, you have to find time to do. So while she is a very strong and versatile character, the learning curve can be extremely steep with Ibuki. Between the high execution combos, and the need to kind of keep track of your projectiles, how many you've used over time, and replace them if you run out, she can require a good amount of thought. This can be something that is very difficult for brand new players in particular who are still trying to just get a handle on the basic mechanics of the game. So I would definitely classify Ibuki as an advanced character. That being said, if she's your girl, play her. Give her a try. Don't let a level scare you off. It's hard to be a former Bison body replacement clone, as many characters in this game can attest. But Falke does it in style. Falke is an extremely defensive character. She uses her staff and collection of projectiles to keep opponents at a distance and punish any attempts to get in on her. Her gameplay is very straightforward and her buttons are extremely easy to learn, requiring lower levels of execution than a lot of the other characters in the game. There are even a couple of one-button input options, which is very different from a lot of the quarter circle, half circle options you may be seeing in the menus. So she may seem simple at first, but you do have to recognize that you have to be willing to play slowly and with a lot of patience. Also, as one of the only characters with a weapon in the game, Falke is the queen of anti-airs. She also, though, moves relatively slowly and again has to be very, very cautious. Her fireballs can hit opponents from a variety of angles, so if you love zoning, Falke might be your girl. I definitely classify her as basic level. Again, though, she's very defensive and a keep-away character, so you're gonna want to play smart and slow. If you don't have the patience for that kind of gameplay, you probably want to start with someone else. Everyone's favorite leggy waifu returns in Street Fighter V as an all-around character who utilizes stored-up moves that you have to charge and an alternatingly aggressive and defensive game plan. Juri has an extremely unique playstyle, one unlike anyone else in the game. With great mobility and a very fast walk speed, she can keep her distance, anti-airing and poking while charging and storing up her special moves. Then she can hit her opponents with a sudden, devastating attack. Juri's V-Skill 1 in particular is useful for this, allowing her to dash behind her opponent and hit them with a quick kick. And if charged, it can also be used to punish fireballs. Juri's buttons themselves are very simple to learn, but her unique playstyle can be difficult to master, especially since it's so different from any other character in the game. Her V-Trigger 1 also gives her a very cool option of linking together moves that otherwise wouldn't combo. So you've got a lot of fun, different options if you're playing with Juri. I definitely classify her as an intermediate level character. Again, if you see a short list of moves, a character might seem very simple at first, but you've got to take that they have a different play style into your mind when you're making your decisions. Kolin is a setup and mix-up character. She also has one of the most extensive move lists in the game. Well, at least out of all the female characters, and as you guys know, that's all that really counts, right? We just love the girls. Kolin succeeds when she can leave her opponent uncertain of what she'll be doing next, particularly when following up her command dash, the Vanity Step. With options to parry and stun opponents, dash forward and back, and even slide under the right conditions, Kolin can choose to lay down the pressure or trap her opponent in a number of different ways. Keep in mind that while having a variety of options can be very good for experienced players, it can also be a lot to learn for a newcomer. So if you're a new player and Kolin appeals to you, just prepare yourself to spend a lot of time in training mode. If you want to execute her setups in particular properly, or understand the right time to use things like her parries, you're gonna need to put in the work. Also, just look at her. Who doesn't want to play as an ice skater or figure skater princess, right? One of the newest characters to join the Street Fighter universe, Laura is unique in that she's primarily a grappler, but she also has a fireball, her Thunderclap. The Thunderclap is very slow moving, so it's best used as a pressure tool. It can shield Laura while she tries to get in on her opponents, forcing them to block, which is perfect for Laura because that can open them up to her grabbing options, including command grabs. The excellent mobility she has with her V-Skill and V-Trigger 1, both in place, allow Laura to dash up on opponents ridiculously quickly. While her game plan is versatile, she does need to get in order to be successful. That can be tough, especially if you're new to the game and don't know exactly how the rest of the roster moves or what to do against them. And of course, like all command grab characters, execution can be very difficult for beginners. I'm sure you're looking at that move list and seeing those Z-looking moves, those half-circle moves, and thinking, what in the world is this? Well, you're gonna have a lot of that with command grab characters, and again, it can be tough. For that reason, I would classify Laura as an intermediate level character. With her pink hair, black whip, and some of the flashiest moves in the game, Poison is extremely fun to both play and watch. From literal Molotov cocktails, to cartwheels, to whip swings, Poison's got it all. Her move list is short and simple to learn, making her a decent choice for newcomers trying to get a handle on the basics of the game. That being said, unlike an aggressive character such as Cammy, Poison requires a somewhat less-in-your-face approach. She excels when she can keep her opponent away with those whip moves that can hit at low and mid-range, provide a good jump-in attack, and even be used as an anti-air. Up close, Poison's normals are relatively slow, one of her few weaknesses, meaning she can get into trouble if her opponent can find a way in. So again, you've got to do your best to keep them out. Luckily, you've got lots of options for doing so, many tools at your disposal. As I've said, with all characters with a basic, list of moves. They can be good for beginners, but you do have to be cautious. Make sure you're playing to the appropriate play style. Lucia is a quick-moving, fast-talking policewoman from New York City. And as a New York girl myself, I have to love her for that. Although, she very sadly has not the best range of costumes. They're kind of bland. Still, Lucia is an all-around character with excellent rushdown options and a useful and variable fireball that can be angled upward if necessary. With a command run and ridiculously fast startups, she can be very dangerous to opponents up close. Lucia is also one of the few characters in the game with very specific strings that are good to execute. For example, her low punch, light punch into light kick into medium kick into heavy kick. Strings like this should make her a comfortable choice for veterans of games like Mortal Kombat or other NRS games, which require strings heavily. But it does also make her a little different from the majority of the Street Fighter V roster. So if she's the first character you're learning for Street Fighter, it might be a little bit difficult transitioning to others in the future. Her V-Trigger 1 adds an additional kicking move that can make her a bit safer when laying down pressure, so it's extremely useful. Now, if only they'd buff her costume choices. Like, seriously. Look at that. What is that? What is this? Like a Santa rabbit or something? No. Come on, guys. Come on, Capcom. We need something more for Lucia's costumes. Zangief's biggest fan, R.Mika, is a professional wrestler with some of the flashiest costumes in the game and an over-the-top personality to match. Like her idol, Mika is a grappler. Her offense revolves around in-your-face and high-damage gameplay anchored by command grabs. Mika is relatively mobile for a grappler, with quick options to get in on the opponent, including a dramatic ass-to-the-face move and a wall bounce. To make her even more fun, Mika's V-triggers incorporate a tag team partner, and her V-skill 1 lets her gain a major damage buff by literally trash-talking into a microphone. Very entertaining. While most of Mika's gameplay is straightforward, like all command grab characters, her inputs can be very, very difficult for anyone to execute, particularly newcomers who are very uncertain about Street Fighter inputs in general anyway. So again, as I was saying with Laura, a character might seem like they're fairly basic at first, but if they've got a lot of these difficult moves you have to learn how to implement, for a very, very beginner, they're probably going to be a little bit harder to deal with. And for that reason, I classify her as intermediate.
Have you considered your destiny? Do you believe in fate? Right there!
Out of all the ladies of Street Fighter V, Menat is one of the only true zoners in a game that is largely dominated by aggressive rushdown playstyles. That makes her simultaneously a unique and fun character to learn, and a challenge to master. She requires a player to have patience and a willingness to play keep away with the opponent. Menat's moves revolve around an orb that she can throw out as a projectile and call back at any time. But the orb also works to extend her normals when in her possession. So you have to be thoughtful of whether you've thrown it out or not. Because if the orb is out there being used as a potential threat or projectile, and you go to execute some of her normals, they're not going to work the same way as they would if she had it in her hand. So again, this requires a bit more thought than you usually would have with other projectiles. Her normals have amazing range, but her damage is low, and her combos, particularly with V-Trigger 1 in place, require some of the highest execution in the game. Still, she has some amazing costumes and a strut on screen to absolutely die for. Just look at her. Just look at her, guys. Menat is definitely an advanced character, but again, as I'd previously mentioned, if she appeals to you, don't let that put you off from learning her. Just keep in mind you may have to put in a little bit extra work than you would with some of the other more easy basic characters in the game. Now let's just look at some of her costumes. I had to put an extra here because she just has so many good ones, guys. And finally, we have Sakura. When you think of Street Fighter, not just Street Fighter V, but the series in general, you'll likely find yourself thinking of certain characters, such as Ryu and Ken, who utilize classic moves like a DP and the Hadouken. These characters, along with a couple of others like Sagat and Akuma, are known as shotos, or characters with a basic gameplay strategy that revolves around a good projectile, an advancing kick, and an anti-air uppercut. Sakura, a young lady who idolizes Ryu, perhaps a little bit too much, if you guys know the story, and strives to be trained by him one day, is the only female shoto character in Street Fighter V. If you're looking for a straightforward character whose gameplay can also help you learn the Street Fighter style as a whole, Sakura may be your girl. Playing with Sakura, practicing her, will give you also a sense of what to expect when you go up against characters like Ryu and Ken, who, let's be clear, you can expect to face a lot if you play online, of course, as they are the classics of the game. She's also a schoolgirl character that is actually legitimately wholesome, so a great option for beginners to Street Fighter V all the way around. Alright, so that's it, everybody. Hopefully you found this video informative, entertaining. Hopefully you got something out of it. Again, apologies for only showcasing the girls, but like I said, that's who I love, and as I've mentioned a couple times here, you should play who you love in any sort of fighting game. So I won't be playing any of the guys anytime soon, except maybe Blanco one day, because, you know, he's kind of cool and he has like a stuffed animal type costume. Okay, well, thank you all so much for joining me today, and hopefully I will see you in the future for other videos. Bye!